This podcast, I was chatting with Nathan from Ireland. Nathan's been a good friend of mine since I came to Salzburg back in 2019. We came to Salzburg about the same time. He's from 6 Mile Bridge in Clare, which is about 25 minutes north of Limerick in Ireland. And it was great chatting with another Irish person. They're such awesome people. But enjoy the podcast, guys. Alrighty. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, man.
And welcome back from Ireland. Everybody, Nathan Eacrett. Is that right?
Eacrett, man. Eacrett. Secret without the S.
Nathan Eacrett. The first day I met you was in the office. So you work at the same company I work at, which is always a blessing to meet people there. And you walked in, I think I started like a couple of days or a week before you or something. And
yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks, 2.5. Oh, no, a month actually it was before you started.
Okay.
You were there almost a month, I think, by the time I started.
Yeah. And then I remember this Irish guy walking in, and I was just like...
Well, you didn't know I was Irish at that stage.
I think I did. I heard your accent, 100%. But I mean, I was like the start of a crazy relationship, and there's something about, this is what Alex, the last guy, said as well, this Commonwealth group that you get along so much, like so well, so easily, right?
Well, let me stop you there, man. We're not part of the Commonwealth.
Oh, you're not?
No, man. We're free. We're totally independent.
Okay, then let me correct you there. Part of these rugby playing countries. Does that fit?
Yeah, our ex-colonies. Colonies and ex-colonies, I guess you could say.
Okay, there you go. Wow, yeah. Sorry. So you're not part of the Commonwealth?
No, we left in, I think, 1937.
Oh. Okay,
when
cheers.
when we became fully independent.
Okay, all right. No, good. Well, thanks so much for coming again. Yeah, can you explain how you came to Salzburg? What's the reasoning and a little bit about that?
So I moved basically for work. So like since I was like 15, so when I was 15 I did an exchange to Dortmund. And then from then I just realized like, yeah, I did no intention of living in Ireland when I'm finished college and when I want to work. It's so much better living abroad. Way better, higher standard of lifestyle in Europe, and especially I just love the way the Germans live. It's quite nice, and I quite enjoy the language, so I studied that in college and in school as well. And so I was looking for jobs mostly in Germany, but all the jobs I looked for, they all wanted C1, C1 or C2, so those that don't know, like A1 to C2, they go A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. That's the level of that the languages that the EU describes for everyone's level.
Yeah.
So the closer you get to C, the better your level is. So they wanted basically like they wanted fluency, but pretty damn good fluence.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't getting any luck with jobs in Germany, and I figured, why not? Let's try Austria. They speak German. Or so I thought anyway. Little did I know until I moved to Salzburg, and I found out, nope. What they speak here is totally different. Like I thought Irish is pretty difficult to understand, and then I came here and it's a totally different story. Like all the different dialects that you meet and everything. It's great seeing them, but when you speak only Hochdeutsch, it's like a nightmare for you.
Yeah. That's 100. It's like you can one thing that people don't fully understand until they get here or until you move here. It's like you can learn German and you can be fluent in German, and still understand basically nothing, because they have the deeper you go into the farmlands, which I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. For me, having a partner that has, like, her parents speak such strong dialect. So even as much Hochdeutsch as I can speak, as much like High German as I can speak, it's still so challenging for me. It's like these two languages. But yeah, I don't know. So I absolutely know what you're saying there. And it is hard. I think they do speak English though enough, and where you need it almost. And we're lucky to work in an English speaking company, right?
Yeah, we are. Like I couldn't, but at least from what I know anyway, most companies do work through Hochdeutsch at least, unless it's all Austrian, then they would probably work through their own dialects and stuff like that. But if you do want to move to Germany, they won't accept you learning dialects. You need to learn Hochdeutsch. The problem is that when you live in Austria, the Austrians only want dialect. They don't want Hochdeutsch. But then if you want to leave Austria, which more than likely if you do want to leave and you go to another German-speaking country, you're going to go to Germany.
Right. And so you came from Dortmund, right?
No, so when I was in school, I was in Dortmund. And
sorry.
So when I was 15, then I realized, like, yeah, I have no future in Ireland. My future is not lying in Ireland. Yeah. Like many in every generation, it's like usually 6 or 7. The closer to 10 you get of every generation, they leave the country. There's very few of each generation actually leaves. We're a migrant nation.
So your thoughts are shared with a lot of other Irish people. Like a lot of other Irish think the same. Like, I've got to find a place to get out of Ireland in a way.
Yeah, so it's nowadays it's either one of two things. You either move abroad, so you move to Canada, the US. A lot of us are going to Australia and New Zealand nowadays, or we go to I don't know how much we're going to the UK anymore after Brexit. We also go to Europe too, but other than that, then we just move to the big city. So a lot of people move up to Dublin, which causes its own chaos in that stage because it brings up the cost of living even more, which is already excruciatingly high.
That's crazy. But how many people have? What's the statistic where there's people living isn't Irish like the most the Irish people are the most, how do I phrase this, the ones that live in different countries?
Diaspora, you mean, is it? So the ones the Irish population living abroad.
Yeah.
So there's something like some ridiculous stat of like 100 million Irish passports worldwide or something ridiculous like that, and only 5 million of them actually live in Ireland.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And so that's 95% technically of whatever the Irish population is. But then it's if you also include those who have Irish heritage, so, their parents are Irish, they've got uncles or aunts who are Irish, or their cousins, I don't know, maybe not the cousins because they're not blood, or grandparents who are Irish, even great-grandparents if you want to push it that far enough. Then you could the entire island of Ireland would just sink, because wherever we go, we just populate everywhere. Good old Catholics, as we say. they breed like rabbits. So wherever we go, we tend to spread, and we tend to stick together a lot.
Yeah, I've met a lot of Irish people in New Zealand, so I guess that's proof, isn't it?
Yeah, wherever you go, you find an Irish pub. You can't get rid of us.
Yeah,
no matter
that's
how
true.
You try.
Okay, then that's my next question: is where's the best Irish pub in Salzburg?
So in Salzburg there is, let me do a quick count off the top of my head, I think it's 7. So there's Celtic, Whiskey, Murphy's, Times, Shamrock, O'Malley's, and Dubliners. Yeah, so there's 7. And I really hope I haven't forgotten any of them. No, I don't think I forgot. Yeah, there's 7 of them. So 4 of them I would recommend as an Irish pub to go to for different reasons, and 3 of them I wouldn't recommend to go to.
Okay.
So the 4 I would recommend to go to for different reasons are, so go to Murphy's if you want to watch sport. It's like a typical country sort of, or like a small city or town pub if you want to go like for the sport and things like that, and get the sporting atmosphere, like whether the Champions League is on, the Six Nations, any of the hurling or the Gaelic football, go there. It's great crack. The beer is everywhere you go. The beer is super cheap here, which is awesome. And especially when the Six Nations and stuff like that's on, you're going to get loads of expats or like people who are here just on holidays as tourists. They'll just stop in this pub just to watch the Six Nations. Like it's that known for the sport. Like, so it's one of the places you always go to watch sport. And then Whiskey Museum is like probably the closest you get to like a typical country Irish pub. It's small, it's dark, all the furniture and everything's wood, and then it's covered in all that typical memorabilia you get in all the Irish pubs. And it's about the closest I think here that you get to like an Irish country pub, just the way it's run and the size of it and everything. So it's pretty cool. And then Celtic is about like it just reminds you of possibly like a 1990s Irish bar. It's got that sort of vibe to it. So it feels pretty authentic. And then the new one that's opened up is Times. So that's just around the corner from Celtic, and that's got to feel kind of like a modern Irish pub sort of style too, but it's pretty nice and it feels nice. It's nice and dark at the same time. Like a big thing for Irish pubs, they need to be pretty dark.
Okay.
Or they need to, the light needs to be pretty dim. If they want to be very authentic, the furniture. No, not so much the smell. But the furniture's got to be dark. I guess that's just to hide up the blood stains and all that, or the vomit and stuff like that. If they don't bother cleaning up the night before.
All right, so what's the 4? What's the first one? Murphy's?
So Murphy's for the sport, Whiskey for the country pub, Celtic for like a 1990s sort of vibe to it. Yeah. And then Times is the new one, just for like kind of a modern sort of Irish pub to it.
Okay.
And then the other 3 then, like Shamrock is, for me, it's known as a very good place to go for partying and stuff like that, if you're a student, things like that, but I just think it's a dive bar. It's very much just a student dive bar. And then O'Malley's is there for the Americans. It's very nice. It's too spacious. It's too bright, but it looks really nice. It looks really nice, but all of that, other than that, it's not really the best place to go. And then Dubliners, I really can't stand it. People rave about it, and it's just, for me, it's like, no, I've been there 3 times, and every time I've gone, it's just the atmosphere isn't great. It's dirt. It's not so much dirty, but it hasn't felt like totally nice, and it's
No.
also stank as well at the same time. Although I have found that they've done food recently, so now I'm tempted to go back and check it out,
Okay.
see if they got the pub food vibe to them.
And but whenever I go to a Irish pub, especially with you, the bartenders and the people that own it or work there are such nice people, right?
Yeah, and that's another reason why I like those 4 pubs particularly, because they're run by Irish guys. I think the others might be, or they might have been at some stage. I'm not entirely sure exactly on the situation for those ones, for the other 3. But the 4 I always go drinking at, the owners are always working in there. Some of the bar staff are Irish, and just the way they act like proper Irish, like bar staff, which is exactly what you want in an Irish pub. And when you're an Irish person living abroad and you're missing a bit of home and you need a proper place to go for a pint, this is where you go.
100%.
And you just chat away to them, you reminisce about home, take the piss out of different things, have the crack, stuff like that, chat away. And it's just, you become a regular accidentally without even meaning to do it. I go to these different pubs for different reasons, and I enjoy it so much all the time because I can just have a chat. Even if I go there on my own, I can chat away with the guys, and I know I'm always going to get good service. It's going to be proper Irish service every single time I go. And the other ones I find, especially in O'Malley's and Shamrock, that's very much missing. It's very much, I don't think there's anybody working in O'Malley's and Shamrock or not that I've met anyway, who are Irish. So it's kind of missing that word of thing to make it Irish. It's just an Irish pub with a name. That's all, pretty much.
Yeah, I can imagine that though. Like if I went to if there was an advertised typical New Zealand restaurant or typical New Zealand beach bar or something, and I went there and there was nothing like the service or the people that I would have back home, I'd think, well, this loses a few points here and there for that. And 100% I can see what you're saying.
That reminds me of a story. So JP, he's gone now. He used to work in Murphy's. For everyone who goes to Murphy's, you don't know JP. And this was before Corona. So in the summer of 2019, I just moved over. The All-Ireland hurling season was on. It was middle of August. I just wanted to go in and watch the match, and I was the only Irish person in the pub.
Okay.
Everyone else was non-Irish. I'm not sure where they were. There was a load of English speakers there, so I think they were Brits. And I was the only person watching the hurling in the entire pub. And these English guys were watching the football. So I went in and I was like, "Hey, can you put on the hurling?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Good old JP, typical friendly. So I came in obviously before the match was on. He's like, "Yeah, I'll switch over to when the match starts. So just let the guys watch the football for a bit." And then at 4:00, whatever, he switched over to the hurling. And the 5 or 6 English guys, the guys watching the Premier League or whatever, watching the English football game that was on, they just all started giving out, going, "Hey, why'd you switch over?" Things like that. And it's like, "Well, you're an Irish pub, man. We're going to watch an Irish sport." And it's like, "Yeah, but he's the only one here watching it." Again, I said, you're in an Irish pub. If you want to go watch an English sport, you can go to another pub for it. And it's just those kind of things that it makes you proud to be Irish. Those sort of specialties that they give you, that sort of service they offer you, it reminds you of home pretty much.
You're lucky to have that here. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I really enjoy that so much. With those 4 pubs, they just really bring in sort of that vibe that you want in an Irish pub abroad.
Yeah. So after moving to Salzburg, what is the one thing that Salzburg offers, or Austria, I guess you can talk about Germany too a little bit, that they offer, that this country offers that you don't have back home?
The first thing that comes to mind would actually just be the style of drinking. It's different. In Austria, they drink a lot. They really, really do drink a lot. No one can drink more than Irish, of course, but they drink an absolute shit ton. They do here. But it's the style of drinking is different. In Ireland, you've public drinking laws, so you can't go out and drink in the public anywhere, which is a real shame because we've such a beautiful country. It would be so nice if we could. And here, I love the fact is, I can walk at 7 o'clock in the morning. If I want a beer, I can walk in the shop and buy a beer, and I can just drink it on the street. Of course, I don't do that. Well, I don't usually do that, but sometimes I
Not
do.
always. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. And it's just one of those things, because we've such beautiful weather here now. It's 30-something degrees at the moment. The sun is shining.
Yeah.
And you just finish work, text a message to the guys, and go, "Hey, look, do you want to go for a drink? We meet up somewhere outside. We'd relax." In my case, get sunburnt. Everyone else goes tanning, or we just go for a swim in one of the lakes or in the river on the Alm Canal or something like that. And there's no issues with just being able to drink in the public. It's a nicer way of drinking, I find. I love drinking in pubs, but at times it's nice to be able to drink outside and just to be able to grab a couple of beers and just head somewhere, go up a mountain, go to a lake in the middle of nowhere, just sit in the middle of a field or something like that, or which is beautiful scenery somewhere. It's super nice to have that.
Much cheaper too, isn't it?
Oh God, it's so much cheaper. It's ridiculous.
You go to a pub and you're going to be spending 80 times more than you are at the Salzburg.
Oh yeah, even that. Yeah, that too. But even the pubs here, in comparison to back home, is so much cheaper. Like it's a euro.
Oh, really?
It's a euro, 150, €2, even €3 or €4, depending where you want to go drinking. Like for a pint.
In Salzburg.
Yeah, in comparison to going back home. So here it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And so like that euro adds up. Like so if you if you've got if you have 5 pints, that's an extra pint you saved.
Are you talking about in pubs or out of pubs?
In pubs. Out of pubs is even more expensive. Like here we can get a bottle of beer for what, 90 cents, a euro, something
less
like that.
Less expensive, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's less expensive.
Yeah.
In Ireland, you're paying $2.50 usually for a bottle.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the good stuff. Otherwise, you just want to drink the piss water.
Yeah.
If you're drinking piss water, you pay maybe $1.50, but it's only like the small bottles and it's out of cans or stuff like that. So it's not. We don't have a great selection of beers. Ciders, we have amazing selection. I think Austria could really do with getting that here.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
The weather is big time. Like it's perfect weather for it here in the summer. It's super hot. A nice cold cider would do great. The beers here are great and much better than we get back home. But of course, yeah, you can't beat Guinness too at the same time.
Yeah, and for me as well. I mean, we have the same kind of rules with you back home. There's something about the freedom here in certain regards. I also appreciate a lot.
I don't know. I think it's fine. Is this they have more willing to let the guys, let the people hang themselves. So as we say, there's a phrase we have in Ireland, like give someone enough rope to hang themselves. So you give them enough chances until they fuck up. Right. And here they seem to do that. Like we hardly see anywhere any broken glasses. It's pretty clean everywhere. People usually clean up after themselves. And if they don't start doing that, then there's punishments going around. In Ireland, they don't give us those chances at all. Though, to be fair, there's certain people in the population are pretty from all parts of society. They're just pigs. They'll just they'll just turn up with everything and they'll just leave it there. Yeah. Nappies, empty, all their empty bags, stuff like that. They just drop everything there. It doesn't matter how rich or poor they are. There's people in all forms of society in Ireland that just do that. They just don't give a crap. And I love that here. Like you hardly see any broken glass. That's the big thing. You hardly see any broken glass anywhere. And there's no dog shit either anywhere, or usually there's no dog shit anywhere, which is pretty nice. Yeah. So it's quite a clean city, which is quite nice.
Agreed. What's the definite from an Irish person? You should define the word craic, because you always, since I met you, you've been telling me about how's the craic, and we also use this in New Zealand a bit. Like what we usually say, what's cracking, but like if you were to say like how's the craic, I would know what you mean. What does how's the craic or
what's the craic?
What's the craic mean?
So craic, you open a can of worms here now. Crap, I got to try explain this. So craic is an ancient Irish word for fun base is what it means. But it's now developed so much more and evolved so much more that it means so many different things. So if someone asks you, do you want to go out tonight for drinks or just go out and do something tonight? You can actually use craic as a reason to do something. You can go, yeah, sure, for the craic. You don't have to explain anything else afterwards. Just by saying that one sentence, yeah, sure, for the craic. Yeah. Or no, I'm not. You can always use it as like a positive. It's usually used in a positive way. Or what other ways can you use it? You can ask someone how the last night was. So like, how was the craic last night? Yeah. Was it good craic last night?
It's a good craic last night. Just don't ask everyone. Well, how was the craic last night?
Yeah, you can usually kind of tell which word they're meaning in that case, and especially for tourists, like usually Americans get quite confused by all of us talking about craic, and they're just like, "Why are you talking about the drug so much?" It's like we're not. We're talking about something else, but we were talking about the drug at one stage, possibly. It can be just an answer for everything, but it just means basically like. Something like it means fun, happiness. If something's going good or well, it means a positive thing the whole time, and you never fully understand how to use craic or even the meaning of craic unless you are Irish or you've been brought up in an Irish household. Sure. So I don't think I'll ever be able to explain it properly. Even Google won't help you guys in this case. Yeah, try to check it.
People, you need to go to Ireland and learn for yourself, I guess.
Yeah, and those who are trying to figure out which way it's spelled, you don't spell it like the drug. You spell it craic.
Craic. Yeah. Have you ever said to anyone like the phrase "how's the crack" or "what's the crack," and they've been like, "Has anyone ever thought you're talking about the drug?" And like, do you have any stories there?
Oh yeah, I say it too many times because I keep forgetting. Like even when you talk with English speakers, because even though I'm living in Austria, like, but I live with, I'm hanging out with English speaking people. Like I forget sometimes that you're not Irish. Like I only have one Irish friend here. Like so everyone else, if they are English speaking, they're from around. They're from the other English speaking countries. So I have met people that are looking at me going like, "What is going on?" Yeah. And from living in Germany too, they think it's hilarious when you say it to them, because they're kind of laughing and thinking they understood what I said, because sometimes I speak too fast, is what I get told.
You always speak too fast.
I try to slow it down too far. I've got two speeds. I've got Irish and non-Irish speeds.
And we get the non-Irish speeds, which is basically...
It's about 1.5
So
times slower
fast.
is all it is.
No.
I can't think of any stories, but there have been people that just looked at me like, what on earth are you saying to me? Like, what the hell is going on right now?
I don't have any drugs, bro. Stop asking for drugs. And call the police on you. This weird Irish guy asked me for crack. Yeah, no. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if it had happened. They've just joked to me. I just ignored. I just like blended. I've passed over the joke or something like that. Too drunk, or I just wasn't listening properly.
Yeah. So what's your advice? Because I don't know too many people that moved to Salzburg just for a job. And that's you. You've moved to Salzburg for a job, essentially. I mean, you had other reasons, but the job is the main motivation as to why you picked up your stuff and moved here. So any advice for other people? You're coming over here, you're working at Red Bull, or you're coming over here, you're working, I don't know, as anything. What would you say from your experience as being a single guy, moving here, you've moved into a shared apartment, and how do you integrate into Salzburg?
Well, if you're planning to move abroad, no matter what country it is, first of all, start learning the language. Start learning a foreign language well enough that you can communicate when you leave the house. Like, okay, when I'm with my English-speaking friends, I speak English, but when I'm with my Austrian friends or my German friends, I do my best to speak German with them, or sometimes I just get lazy and just go back to English. Or they just want to speak English with me too, or we kind of mix it up and speak a bit of Denglish. So German or dialect, depending which ones they are. But for sure, if you want to move to Salzburg, definitely start learning German. Okay, you're going to be learning Hochdeutsch. They're not going to be too appreciative of it, hear that much. They really only want dialect, but it does make a big difference when you go out in places. They at least understand that, okay, at least you speak German of some kind. Even if it isn't the German they want you to speak, at least you're still speaking the German. And then the other tip I would give you guys is, don't expect them to be too friendly here. You're moving to a country where the people in general, they're not known exactly for being friendly. The Germans are stereotyped as being quite closed. I consider the Germans much more of an open group of people generally. Okay. Here, they're much more closed. So expect that too, guys. Don't expect all of them to be open arms, friendly, wanting to chat with you, especially if you refuse to learn German or you don't learn any German at all. You're going to be closing a lot of doors to yourself straight away. And it's to a lot of people. They're not going to be that interested in you. And when you go to certain parts of their society that's here, they really have no interest unless you speak German or you speak dialect.
Right.
So the two main ones would be learn German before you come here, especially also because it's going to help you a lot to get a job here, because there's only a few companies that are actually willing to take people who only speak English.
Yeah.
English and whatever other foreign language they have without having German. And then also the people, they're not going to be they're not all like that, of course, because we've got Austrian friends. Your girlfriend's Austrian, she's lovely, she's super friendly and everything. So all our Austrian friends that we have together, but not all of the population here are friendly, and they're not too welcoming to foreigners at the same time.
No matter what
your demographic is. Even me as an Irish person, this is probably the first country I've come to and I don't feel totally welcome. Right. Usually where you go as an Irish person, we're like, hey, come on, let's go have a chat. Could you just go for a pint? Let's have a drink together. Yeah. Everyone wants to have a chat with you. Here, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, fuck off. We've had enough of you already.
The way I see it, I mean, let's just put out there first is that every country's going to have people like this, especially when they are so close in their circles. Another guy said this, Noro. He said they've built their relationships and their friendships from a younger age, and they don't need to necessarily take another person on board. So if an Irish guy comes along, it's easy to just sort of turn them back or laugh at them or whatever. Oh, this guy doesn't speak German, or whether So, but then when you can so I see it like I've said this before, like a coconut. When you can crack that coconut, and it's going to take a lot of hits. It's going to take a lot of meeting them and saying hi and sharing that you want to be friends and this and that. Then you're finally going to crack that coconut open, and I think that then you can integrate better and be better friends with the Austrian people. I think they're quite hard to get to be friends with, but when you do, they're 100% worth it, I think.
Is that it? I use the description of from Shrek, where they're on about peeling an onion.
Okay.
So it brings you to tears trying to peel the onion, but once you get past all those layers, then you get the onion, and then you're pretty happy. But you're going to cry a lot before you get to that stage. And with every country, even you come to Ireland, guys, you're not going to meet everyone isn't going to be open arms, super friendly to you. Like there's a decent part of the population are like, yeah, we don't really care where you come from, just give us your money and that's all we're happy for. Like,
so when we talk about this, it would be interesting for me to hear your perspective on the cultural differences between the countries. Like, Ireland has their culture and their way of communicating and social behaviors and lifestyle and customs, and then Salzburg has obviously you've learned a little bit of that. So what's the differences here?
What are the differences? Well, of course, we just said, like, in Ireland we're much more open, much more friendly, and things like that. But I think that's also just to come down to just the way they are. Because in Ireland, it's always just been part of our culture group that we've always just been super friendly. We're always welcoming. If anyone, well, not many people actually know, like, Irish people have had a pretty crap history where someone was always kicking the shit out of us and conquering us, and we were always the bottom of the bottom. We could never get any lower. To quote a line from an Irish movie called The Commitments, we're the blacks of Europe. And that, if you look at Irish history, you understand what it is. We pretty much were like, no one liked us. They considered us subhuman. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're such a really open people, really friendly people in general, especially when we go abroad or when people come to Ireland, they want to be tourists, they want to integrate a bit, or just want to be part of the Irish lifestyle. Is because we figured, well, also because of other things in our cultural traits then as well, it's just we figured life can't get any worse. We're already at the bottom of society, so like the hole's already deep enough. The hole can't get any deeper, so what's the point in being sad? Let's just have the crack, let's just party, enjoy ourselves, and if someone wants to jump in the hole with us, let's welcome them with open arms. And if they want to put themselves in the same situation as us, we're totally happy with that.
That's such an awesome response. I've never thought of it like that. I didn't know that. Like, that's
people don't, because it's one of those things, because everyone thinks of Ireland as rolling green hills, shamrock, all the different things, all the different luck and stuff like that, all the myths, the language, the music, the poets, things like that. But when you look at it, it's a pretty, we don't exactly have the most pretty of histories, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I got a bit sidetracked there, actually. See, because the thing is, the Austrians, they're much more closed culturally, which I don't mind entirely. I just kind of wish they were a bit more open, or it was easier to open them up.
Sweet. So that's your kind of statement, is that, like, your country has proven with, like you said, the history to not be the nicest history, yet you can still clearly show that you are going to take people in. You're going to offer a meal to someone. You're going to say, hey, look, let's have a drink together. And here it's a little bit less like that. And I totally understand that that's what you meant. That's what you can miss from home.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I'm making it seem like the Irish were the poor, were the poor ones, take pity on us. We've had a pretty bloody, gruesome history. Sure, we were a colony for 800 years. Well, part of the island is still a colony at the moment. Or it's still, it's still under British rule. So, like, but we spent most of that time fighting for the Brits. At one stage, something like 30 or 40% of the British army was Irish. And that includes all the colonies and including Britain at the same time. Like 40% of their army is Irish. Okay. So we have a pretty gruesome history. And internally in Ireland, we have a pretty gruesome history too. So it's not exactly something to take pity on us guys, but just to give you an idea of why we're so friendly and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth noting. I mean, I don't know that, and I know you as a friend. So I can guarantee that people don't know that, and that's awesome to share. I think it's awesome.
A thing I really like one thing I really like here about the Austrians, culturally different, is that they have, even though they are quite, we can say a bit stubborn, or we kind of bash around a lot about the fact they don't want to learn Hochdeutsch. Is I love the fact that they're so proud about all their dialects. It's so cool to see. Okay, it annoys us that because it makes it harder for us to actually fully integrate into their society, and I think they do that they don't keep their dialects for just to stop people from integrating. I think they actually keep the dialects because this is part of their identity. This is who they are. And it's something, unfortunately, in Ireland, our language has almost died out for various reasons, because it used to be a capital offence to speak the language. It was, English was forced upon us. And then also just the way now it's taught in schools by the current system, it's taught horrifically. It's not taught well at all. They teach it like as if we already know the language fluently, even though we don't. So it's not there. It kind of seems in a way that the government is doing their best at times to actually remove the Irish language, even though we've had, they should be wanting to promote and get it back. And while here seeing that there is so many different dialects wherever you go, it's not just by Bundesland here. They have so many different ones, and they take the piss out of the different ones here too, which is pretty funny. Like if you come from Vorarlberg, sorry guys, anyone from Vorarlberg here, you don't exactly have a good reputation of a nice language to listen to. Same with Tyrol, it's usually a pretty hard one to understand, although I find it's easier to understand the Tyroleans just because the way they talk, it's like the way the Irish talk English, it's quite guttural, very fast, they don't say the words fully, things like that. So it's quite, I really enjoy seeing that, they keep their dialects. Okay, it is a pain in the ass, because it means it's harder for us to integrate and it's harder for us to communicate at times, but I really like the fact is they're not willing to compromise. This is our language, and that's it. Yeah, okay, we'll learn Hochdeutsch at the same time, but if you're here, you got to learn our thing.
Yeah. They're proud of it, 100%.
And I hope they never lose that, because if you lose your language, that's part of your national identity. That's part of your culture.
Exactly. Exactly like you said. Maria, my girlfriend, isn't Maria without her Austrian side. She has so many attributes that are her from when she was born. There's so many sayings. There's so many unique sayings. Like, for example, one that I love. I don't know if you know this, but they say sometimes, "Was der Bauer nicht kennt." Or in dialect that say was der Bauer nicht kennt is frisst nicht, or something like that, which means like what the farmer doesn't know he won't eat, which is kind of funny because it's basically saying like when you don't know a food. For example, if I went to like Vietnam or if I went to Ireland, there was a weird black sausage, it was like blood sausage or whatever, and I'd be like, I don't know that, I'm not going to eat it. And I think it's just such a good saying. But there's like a million other sayings like this, and I'm always learning them from her and her family and stuff, and that's the identity. That's the beauty of it. And I think, like you said, the Irish also had that or have that, and you should keep that. You should be proud of it. Keep it for it's awesome. Well, we don't have too much time, but you got to give a rundown of the best beers in Salzburg or in this region. You're a beer connoisseur. You know your beers. You're very passionate about your beers. I know you like the
trying
Pils
to make me sound like an alcoholic here, man.
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, so I guess we just go by the different types of beers. So if you want a Pils, I'd say the best Austrian Pils I've tried here at the moment. There's two actually. There's one called Trumer Pils, and I quite like that one because it's done like a German style. Okay. And it's also got the German style bottle, so it's got that long neck. I'm not a big fan of the Austrian Pils, the style of Austrian Pils. Just tastes, it doesn't taste the best for me. And also the way they put it in the bottles too, they just use a standard bottle. While I find Pils, you need a long neck for it to make it just that much more nicer tasting. Okay. And then there's a company just outside of Salzburg, I believe it is. It's Brauhaus Gusswerk. They also do a really nice Pils too. And what I love especially about that one is the bottle. It comes in, it's nearly a liter. The bottle is. Yeah. So you're basically having like, it's almost having like a mass like of Pils at the same time. Like it's pretty cool. For Helles, okay, it's not from Salzburg. It's not even from Austria actually, but I think the best one in this region around here is Chemsia. Absolutely, by far the best one. Unfortunately, it's impossible to get in Salzburg. You got to go across to Freilassing to pick it up, which isn't too bad. But if you don't have a car, it's a pain in the ass to try to pick up a crate and take it on the train and back. Yeah. Märzen, I think this is a type of beer I didn't even know existed until I came here. My favorite type of beer in that case would be Eacrett. It's a small Austrian one. Eacrett, they're actually a wood company. They're in the lumber industry, the timber industry, and this is just like he kind of did as like a side project. The owner did just to make some more money or just for the fun. He just started making beer. So the Eacrett Märzen is pretty nice, and it's always super cheap as well. The Austrians don't seem to like it, or for whatever reason, it's always cheap. Okay. You get like a crate for like €15 or €10, €12, depending if it's on sale and stuff like that. So it's pretty nice. What other kind of beers are there here actually? Radler, just pick up whatever Radler you want, guys, I guess. And for those who don't know what a Radler is it's beer and lemonade basically mixed together. Yeah, but you're going to get shot at if you drink Radler in Austria because everyone says, Radler ist kein Alkohol. Have you heard that? Everyone says... The Germans say the same thing too. So basically, if you come to Austria, you drink Radler, you're going to get bullied. That's how it works here, apparently. And it's the same in Germany. Everyone thinks, if you drink a Radler, it's not alcohol. But it's 2.5%. It's some bit of alcohol. The problem is, like it's the closest we can get to a cider here, unless they do ciders. Yeah, and true. The ciders here are so expensive when you try to get them. It's they only do the small bottles for like €3 sometimes. It's ridiculous. Yeah, 100%. What other kind of beers are there here? Steinbock, the Stiegel Steinbock beer. It's kind of a dark beer. It's quite nice. It's a strong one too. It's about 6.5% or something like that. It's quite a nice one too. It's got a goat in it.
Okay.
So Steinbock is a mountain goat of some kind, I think it is.
Okay.
So it's got a goat in it. It's quite a dark label. It's a pretty nice one too.
So, but if you could just put, from an Irish person, your top 3 beers. You're going to the Spar, you're going to the supermarket down the road. What are your top 3 beers?
Top 3 beers. Straight off, if I see a Chemsare, I'm definitely getting a Chemsare. If I see a Trumer, 100% getting that. Or if I see any of the Czech or German, if I see Trumer Pils, if I see any of the Czech or German Pils, and the German Pils that I know, so not the main ones like Kronbach or Feltons,
right?
They're not great Pils. If I see those ever on sale, I'm straight away in there getting them, like the Czech or the German, the good German Pils. Always straight away getting those if they're on sale.
But they're the types, right? They're the type of beers.
Yeah, so types of beers. So Pils is the type of beer.
There you go. All right. Cheers, mate.
No problem, man.
Well, let's wrap it up. But do you have anything that you'd like to say? Do you have any questions for me? I've asking you everything. Do you have any questions?
No. Well, I guess how much do you understand what I said?
Everything, dude. I've not only been friends with you, but I know the Irish accent. I said the last podcast, my dad's from Scotland and his mum has a Scottish accent. And I said the Scottish, the Irish, and the Welsh accents are some of the hardest English accents in the world to understand.
Oh man, you have no idea, and you're just probably living off the stereotype ones too. If you actually went to Ireland, you have no idea what we're talking about. Especially, you go to the cities like in Cork or Southwest Cork. You go to Dublin, there's 2 accents: north side, south side. Limerick, good luck with that. You're gonna need new eardrums after the Limerick. Actually, the Cork ones you need new eardrums too because they speak so high.
Well, let's just hope the people listening can understand you.
They should. Usually, when Irish we ever talk on same with the Scots, whenever we talk on the phone and stuff like that, our accent seems to get kind of softened for some reason. Well, the telephone was invented by a Scot, so I guess he must have put some kind of contraption in it to dilute our accent somehow.
Yeah. All right, but anyway, cheers, mate. Appreciate it once again.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me as well.
Yeah.
It was pretty good crack.
Awesome. Good crack. Cheers, everybody.